The reason why they were attracted to you in the first place was because of your confidence. And if you didn't have that confidence, they wouldn't be attracted to you, because that's what they used to get by. As a matter of fact, if you had the same amount of confidence that they had, which was none, both of y'all would get nowhere. They do this all the time. This is what they do. They don't have their own energy source, their own light source, their own personality. And so what you probably soon realized was they loved you for your confidence. But after a while, they realized every single day that you were everything that they wanted to be, pretended to be, and couldn't be. Tried to be. Tried to appear to be. But you were really that every single day. They kept trying to find the flaws, but there was no flaws. There was no way to blow a facade that's not a facade. It's actually genuine, but they had never seen anybody genuinely be like that before, because they've always just pretended to be that. So their resentment for you started to grow and grow and grow, to the point where their facade started to slip. Their mask started to come off. And you started recognizing some changes in their demeanor, where they were no longer masking. They were no longer mirroring you, because their disdain for you grew so strong that you would catch them staring at you and looking at you with disgust. And you would wonder, what's going on? They could never leave your side. They needed what you had. They actually did things to you to try and set you up for failure, to blow your supposed facade. But each time you handled each situation with grace. And that pissed them off even more. Their jealousy turned to envy, and their envy turned to resentment, and their resentment turned to disgust, and their disgust turned to disdain, and their disdain was pure hatred. This type of person is diabolical, cynical, and disgusting, maniacal even. You actually started to see who they really were. No amount of manipulation or gaslighting would get them out of this. You found that out very quickly. Unfortunately, they got accustomed to the things that came with you, such as your blessings and the way that things kind of fell into your lap. They started to rely on those things. They started to rely on that attention. They started to rely on those manifestations. They started to rely on those blessings and that protection and that abundance. And they almost got so delirious that they assumed that it was them that was the blessing. And as if they didn't already hate you enough, them waking up every single day and watching you thrive and be absolutely glorious so effortlessly. What they could have never done but tried to do, and actually burned themselves out trying, overexerting themselves completely, they actually just gave up trying. But to watch you do those things so effortlessly made them despise you. So not only did they feel entitled to your blessings, they treated you like shit, because they could no longer hold in the hate, the anger, the disdain, the disgust that they had for you. But they couldn't get away from it because they needed it. So every day that they were there, you almost thought, why are you here if you hate me? Why? But it was almost as if they were clocking in for a 9-to-5 that they hated. They were working a low-paying job, right? Charity work even. It was their job. They needed it to survive, because they don't know how to get it themselves, nor are they willing to put in the effort to try and adjust what they typically do. They're not willing to pivot. They're not willing to make adjustments. They're not willing to admit that what they've done their entire life is wrong. They would never look at you and say, what can I learn from this person? They would say, what can I take from this person? Why does this person have the things that I want, the things that I think I deserve? So the jealousy quickly became envy. And that envy just grew a sense of entitlement, and the way that they disrespected you was uncanny and otherworldly. But you don't think like that. Or you didn't. I'm sure you do now. I'm sure you're aware of it now. They started to send so much negative energy to you and your way, the way that they talked about you and stalked you and harassed you and spied on you. You couldn't even do a regular day by yourself without them keeping tabs, because they possessed you in their mind. They wanted to possess that energy. They wanted to control that energy, and they wanted possession of you and that energy. They didn't like you, but they needed your energy. So every time you left the house, every time you stepped out with friends, every time you went to work, every time you needed some alone time, best believe they were keeping tabs on you. Social media, phones, asking people about you, following you even sometimes, knowing your work schedule, knowing your friends, knowing everything about you. Actually, they knew more about you than they did about themselves, because the truth is they have no personality to even keep up with. They're a blank slate. And what you slowly but surely realized is they couldn't leave you. They hate you. They kept tabs on you. They wouldn't leave you alone. You couldn't go anywhere with privacy. And not only that, but they have no personality. So what did they do? Started to absorb your personality. And they convinced themselves that that was their authentic self. The only thing was, if you were to stop having that personality, they wouldn't even know what to say next. If you were to stop mid-conversation, they wouldn't know what to say next. If you didn't give them any knowledge just by you simply opening your mouth, they wouldn't even know how to hold a conversation. But the disrespect grew a little bit too much, and every time you tried to leave, it's almost as if they turned their fake, charismatic, narcissistic beginning stage self back on again. Their representative, right? Their charismatic representative, their mask. They would put the mask back on. They would say, what are you talking about? You didn't see that. That never happened. And they begin to gaslight you and manipulate you and try to confuse you, because they don't have any genuine accountability for themselves, because they would just rather confuse you and manipulate you, because that usually works with other people. And even if it doesn't, that's really all they know. And to find someone to get their energy off of is probably pretty simple, but to find somebody like you, that's very rare. They at least knew that. Eventually, you started to feel their evil and negative manifestations physically. Your skin was dry, your hair was thinning and falling out, your cuticles were dry. You felt physically ill. You felt drained and fatigued. You felt exhausted. And that's because they were manifesting so much of your energy to try and be you that it depleted you. But due to the circumstance, you actually had to learn how to defend yourself spiritually, energetically. You learned to call your energy back. You did your research. And you actually became even more powerful, if that was even a possibility. Which, of course, in turn made them hate you more. But we don't care about that at all. I'm proud of you for getting away from them, and what you'll realize is, with as high vibrational as you are, that won't be the first person, nor will it be the last. That wasn't the first person. It's just the first person that made it very obvious. But there's plenty of them. It will not be the last person like that. And what you'll learn is they all have the same personality, and you'll learn to identify it quicker. So every time that personality approaches you and tries to dominate you and take your energy and take charge of you and possess you, and have possession over you, but still despise you at the same time, a little light bulb will go off, and you'll do pattern recognition, and you'll remember, oh, it's you again. And you'll know to cut it off quickly and move around way sooner than you did before. Way sooner.